I'm joined on the show by former soldier, Lieutenant General retired Sanjay Kulkarni. He's a former Director General of the Infantry of the Indian Army. General Kulkarni, always a pleasure to chat with you on the show. To understand what's happening, what is unfolding in West Asia, let's, as a military man, tell me what is the objective of this operation? What do you understand? Is it to strike Iran, weaken it, then get it back to the negotiating table and negotiate with a weakened Iran? Or is the objective different this time around? Is it to go all out and effect a regime change?
Thank you, Ahmed. I think at the very outset, yes, regime change is a political aim. But besides the political aim, US seems to think that there is an existential threat for Israel, as a result of which it had wanted no missiles with Iran. That's the first thing. And of course, the kind of setup of Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi, that the Iranians are supporting, had been rather something which nobody in the world would like. Because terror is a common enemy, and we all must fight terror. Irrespective of that, the question is of the nuclear thing. The nuclear thing, well, I would say to a large extent, Iran may have given in. But Iran probably felt that the issue of sovereignty comes when it comes to missiles. Because the protection Iran feels it needs missiles. And the new ones, which have a range of over 2,000 kilometers, can target Israel. And that is where the whole process starts. But not the question that the Americans are wanting it in no uncertain terms. The Chinese have struck what they call a $400 billion deal with the Iranians for oil. You have the oil going from Venezuela, almost 70% of Venezuela. Now, the question isn't the oil that the Americans don't want, but what they want are dollars for this oil which is being sold from these countries to go to the SWIFT system. Now, if each of these countries decide to pick up oil in their currency, then the dollar which they print, it becomes almost like a paper, which would have no value. You've seen it now. It's almost 1,60,000 rupees for 10 grams of gold. So collateral, collateral required for a dollar.
Okay, so General, are you then arguing that the Americans and the Israelis, by hitting, say, their missile facilities, or even in some cases a school has been hit where reports say about 51 students have been killed in Minaz in northern Iran, will they be able to sort of weaken the Iranian resolve and get them back to the table, or cut their deal with the Chinese? Will they be able to affect that by these military strikes?
See, two things. Both military strikes also, if America thinks it can't be done otherwise, because despite Mr. Trump's son-in-law as part of it with Witkoff, and over a period of time with Oman facilitation, they've realized there are no direct talks, they're indirect talks. So Oman is facilitating. That means the two sides aren't actually talking eyeball to eyeball. With whatever input they're giving to the President of the United States, he seems to feel, well, probably Iran is managing to get a little more stronger day by day with missiles and whatever it is. And rightly so, if you look at the entire thing, despite the preemptive strikes by the United States and Israel on Iran called it provocative and retaliated. I don't think anybody really expected Iran to retaliate in the fashion that they have. They struck 10 countries in one go. And all of it, despite the entire 2 aircraft carriers there, you have the electronic warfare, the entire jamming being done of all of it. They know exactly from where the missiles will be taking off. They know all of it. And despite that, 19 of the United States bases have been hit in the Middle East. That means a lot. Therefore, somewhere down the chain, the United States probably has been either complicit, because in these 12 days, Iran instead has attempted to toughen itself. It's gone underground. It has ensured that its leaders are not killed. It has ensured that at least the first retaliation would be strong enough. It would not capitulate as easy as it is. Though much has been said that probably Iran may have lost its defense minister. A sizable number of IRGC commanders and troops have been lost. There have been heavy losses in Iran. But the fact that Iran could retaliate to the first strike, I think it goes to the credit of Iran. However, having said that, I think this night is going to be very difficult for Iran
No,
to
but
survive.
most of their missiles, there's a huge, mismatch between Iran and the U.S. military combined might there. Iran had to retaliate; it had to be seen as retaliating. But much of its missiles, except for if you leave the Manama Navy naval base, have been intercepted and they've been neutralized, be it in Israel or be it over other facilities, Kuwait or even in UAE or Riyadh, they've been intercepted. So there is a mismatch there. But again, let me come back to the question, General. What is Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu trying to do here? Are they going to go all the way and only stop once they affect a regime change? And is it that easy? I mean, who all do you take out? Do you take out the Ayatollah? Do you take out Pezeshkian? Do you take out, what do you do with the whole range of stack of the IRGC leadership? How easy or difficult is that? And if it is an objective in the first place?
Yeah, see, two things. First and foremost, of course, what we're talking about, the air defense. No air defense is 100% foolproof, though 90% to 95%, and with the new technologies which Israel also developed after the 12-day war, that would have given Israel enough chance to survive, and which it has. So would the air bases of America, because the Americans would be expecting Iran to attack. But despite all that, what you rightly said, the strikes have not been as powerful or as effective as they should have been. Notwithstanding that, the question is, would the Iranians be able to go for a regime change? I would personally say, well, Iranians might consolidate and would not let that regime change happen at this point of time. Because they seem to feel that Iran is also an old civilization, number one. Number two, they also have the prestige at stake now, irrespective of whatever it is. They do feel isolated. That's the reason why all the Middle Eastern countries, 8 of them, have been hit by Iran. Not that the countries have been hit. I'm told Burj Khalifa and all have been told to vacate. Is indicative that Iran is also pressurizing these countries, that you pressurize your friend America and tell them to stop bombing us. If they think they are Venezuela, we are not Venezuela. We have a certain 3,000 to 5,000 missiles, and they have a huge nuisance value. But as yet, American aircraft carriers and the whole lot of them, the armory is still intact. They have yet not opened up with whatever they have. Once that happens, then if Iran is unable, then I don't think. See, there is an option of capitulation. Iran might realize that it's not worth it. Would it be okay, like Ukraine, to get totally Ukraine and finish your country? Or would it be better than that implosion within Iran, which Mr. Trump and the Americans are looking at, that there is a sizable amount of anti-Khamenei wave in Iran, which might lead to an implosion in Iran. I personally think it may not really work, because over a period of time, this clergy has been there for 47 years. If they've been in command of Iran for 47 years, that means a lot. And the Iranian people, much that they would want a freedom, they would want a little bit of a more this thing. But Shah Pahlavi is also not popular. That's another question. Which is the leadership that can be popular? If not Khamenei, maybe his son, maybe somebody else. So it's very difficult. You're right in one way that leadership change is not going to be easy unless until it comes from the Iranians themselves, which again seems doubtful. If Iran is under pressure, the way they are, they may not accept a regime change so soon, because that would be seen as total capitulation by Iran, which I don't think the whole civilization will accept.
Right. General, I request you to stay on. I have with me Professor Rahul Mishra from the School of International Studies at the Jawaharlal Nehru University also joining us. Rahul, the General argues that yes, militarily, Iran is no match to the West, to the US, Israel combined also. But if the Americans and the Israelis try and affect a regime change externally, all that anger against the government or all that anger against the current regime within the common Iranian may really fritter away, and they may unite, and the Americans and the Israelis may not achieve the objective of regime change.
Absolutely, Amrit. I think there are a couple of things that we must keep in mind. First and foremost, unlike in the past, this is one exception where America, a superpower, is not acting rationally and provoking a so-called rogue state to such an extent that they might take some extreme steps. So in this escalation, I think is the Iranians who are behaving with a lot of rationality. They know that if this mutual assured destruction starts, the damages will be very high on the Americans, on the Iranian side. Americans, of course, will get affected, but still, Iran is not in a position to have a decisive win over either over Israel or the US, and that
Yes.
is what they have in mind. So strategically, they are very rationally thinking about it. Now, unlike other countries, Iran is one actor which, of course, gives a due recognition and weightage to this military one-on-one conflict and possibilities of a nuclear conflict. But they also give enough weightage to the diplomatic equation. Now, what we have to perhaps observe is how Russia and China and other countries respond to this situation where Iran did not start it, is the Americans started it. And whether it is regime change or Trump saying that that he is unhappy with Iranians and therefore they attack, does not really make sense to me.
Yeah, there was no immediate provocation, really. I mean, if you look at either Netanyahu or Trump's statement, they've said, well, goes back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, and said they did this, oh, they've suppressed protests, they've killed protesters. But what was the immediate provocation? In your State of Union, you were saying, I'm ready to use diplomacy. So there was no immediate provocation.
Absolutely. You are spot on that point. And I think General also mentioned that Iran is not Venezuela. If Trump is under any disillusion, under any illusion that this whole thing is going to give him a decisive victory, that is not going to happen. True that Americans and wider Western community, Israel alongside, is disillusioned with this whole mechanism of promoting peace, securing a stable system where Iran gradually goes for denuclearization. I think that is not going to happen. Denuclearization
Okay,
of Iran.
then Rahul, let me ask you what I began by asking General Saab, that why did they do it? What was their objective? Was it to weaken Iran, then get them back on the table, negotiate with a weakened Iran, or is it to go all out and effect a regime change? What, to your mind, is the objective of this whole op?
Well, I do not want to put it in those words, but I have no choice. Trump acts like a businessman and has no sense whatsoever of diplomacy, statecraft, and military strategy. Attacking a nuclear power state which has its own, position in the region and has diplomatic connections which can swing, have powers on board which can swing to its side. It's really a foolish strategy to attack Iran and at this scale without exercising all the options and also giving a due assurance to Iran. I mean, having seen the Venezuelan experience or Ukrainian experience, which country which is at the wrong side of the US would not want to have nuclear weapons? I mean, this is your only security guarantee, right? So I think what provoked Trump is, of course, he was looking for conflict or situations elsewhere, and he is one guy who thinks that regime change is the best solution, which is, of course, very hawkish, very hyper-realist position on this.
Yeah.
Goes back to Colin Powell and other leaders of that sort. But this is not going to extract any major tangible gains for the US. And if Iran is managed to get some support diplomatically tomorrow, I think, or Monday, if there is no emergency meeting at the UN, I think...
I think they've called for an emergency meeting today.
Yeah, so what happens there? I mean, calling for an emergency meeting, and then you have these, special groups that would meet, and caucus, as it were, will also have a meeting. So what Russia, China do together is also very important to understand, and non-permanent members also play a role here. So if a joint statement comes from these countries, or if a kind of a consensus statement comes from these countries, these things will not look very good towards to the American side. Now, remember last time also when this whole Israel-Iran thing happened, Iran categorically informed both Israel and the US that, look, you have put me in a very difficult situation where I have no option but to attack you. So for my reputation, for Iran's leadership reputation, and for face saving, I am going to attack your the US bases in the region.
Yeah.
That's precisely what they're doing this time also. So they are actually starting from where they left last time. And that's a very calibrated move. They're not acting irresponsibly or irrationally. So they have a strategy in place. Just that Iran is not ready yet for a decisive conflict. They know that if they escalate it further, they'll not be in a position to secure their position and their interests. And
The
that is
scales
why
don't tilt there on their side.
absolutely. So they are very cognizant of that fact, and perhaps maybe not this time, maybe some months down the line, couple of years down the line, when they have the capability, they will strike, and they'll strike very hard.
Okay.
Iran is one actor, one regional actor in the Middle East or West Asia, if you will, which has always kept these equations in mind.
Okay.
And the Arab world will also, there will be a turnaround, I'm sure. Saudi Arabia, for example, has given a kind of knee-jerk reaction, but things will change. I mean, the distinction that Iran has tried to make is very interesting. They've attacked only the US bases.
US bases in the Sunni world, yes.
Yeah, not the people.
Yeah, yes. Though there are some reports of Burj Khalifa being evacuated, etc., and some kind of explosion near Burj Khalifa, but nevertheless, more or less, it's been the American assets that have been, targeted in the Sunni world. General Kulkarni, okay, whatever has happened. Where does this go from now? Will it be different from last year's 12-day war? Or will it end like that? Or will it continue would we see action for a few more days?
I think if Iran can survive for the next 72 hours, it will again be back on the table, because Iran will accept zero stockpiling. Iran will say, okay, no enrichment at all beyond 5%, and we de-enrich everything, whatever we have. Probably Iran might accept. But if you tell Iran that have no missiles whatsoever, that probably may not be acceptable to Iran, because every nation has a right to defend its territorial integrity and sovereignty. So on that aspect, I'm sure even much that we would want Iran to go away with it, it will not work out. Yes, Iran can be forced that they will not finance, they will not equip, and they will not encourage these proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthi. And therefore, it is much better for Iran also to behave like a normal state and not behave a little differently, even though Iran is an old civilization. But this kind of a behavior, propping up proxies, propping up terrorists, fighting here, not letting things, or the Strait of Hormuz being blocked, 20% of the oil passes through that, create chaos the world over. I think that may not really be appreciated, and Iran must do whatever it does, as I rightly agree, rationally and in a manner that, yes, zero stockpiling given. We will not, I repeat, not as IAEA inspections can be done and seen anywhere and everywhere in Iran. Missiles, no, we will make maybe 2,000, maybe 5,000 kilometers tomorrow, because that's their right, how we depend and how the world looks at it, which we see differently. Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, definitely a big no. Nobody should be allowed to finance such terrorist organizations creating destabilization in the Middle East. I think Iran seems rational, and the foreign minister seems to be giving in those kind of statements that they're willing to accept zero stockpiling of the uranium, because the 400 odd kgs of uranium, which is high enriched, over 70%, is still missing. And therefore, that has a capability of at least 70 odd nuclear bombs. And that's a huge kind of a threat to Israel. It's a threat to everybody in and around. And there are rogue states also. You see all that deals done between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Where is that deal? Saudi Arabia is under attack.
Right.
Nothing is working out. Everybody has realized what it is all about.
Okay.
And I think Russia is away, China is away. So there's no question of a world war either. It's only a regional war, which hopefully it survives for 72 hours. If Iran can survive 72 hours, I think it's a big thing. And world will pressurize Trump his is also
step
an
back
irrational on this point of time.
and give some breathing space to Iran to get back to the table.
Yes.
We'll see how that plays out in the coming days. We'll keep a track of that. Thank you, Professor Rahul Mishra and General Kulkarni, for being on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amrit.